So what are the rules for speech in Europe, if we could get specific about this? Because I think it helps to understand why it's happening, who's doing it, if we understand what you're not allowed to say. So what are you not allowed to say in Europe right now?
Well, essentially, you are not allowed really to criticize the establishment. You are not, especially not allowed to talk about the replacement migration going on in Europe. If you say, look, we are soon, white people, the native people of Europe are soon becoming a minority in their own homelands, which is factually true. Like before the end of this century, that's the case in most European countries, even before the end of the first half of the century, actually. If you say that, they're going to slap you with a hate speech crime. They're going to say that that is um, hateful language, inflicting racial hatred, etc. So that seems to be the common denominator, especially talking about immigration and the effects of that, linking it to crime, which is obvious. You know, you only need your two eyes to know that that is the case. That's something that really seems to bother them.
What's up, guys? We are going to look at a clip today with Tucker Carlson and Ava Vlaardingerbroek. In this clip, Ava Vlaardingerbroek is going to tell us about the recent memo she got from Great Britain. It's difficult not to see the irony. Let's just jump right into the clip here.
You described Starmer, who's the prime minister of the country, the elected official, as an evil, despicable man for allowing the ongoing and killing of British girls by a migrant gang. So
guilty as charged.
You're making a political point, an entirely defensible political point, and you believe that because you said that, you are now banned from the country.
I really don't see any other reason as to why they otherwise would have done this right now. As I said, I applied for this electronic travel authorization back in September because I went and spoke at the Unite the Kingdom rally organized by Tommy Robinson. And I spoke about remigration and the need for that. And, now because of Brexit, Europeans have to apply for an ETA, as when we go to America, we have to apply for an ESTA, right? And this was approved back in September within minutes. Like I just got it. No problems, no questions asked. And now, out of the blue, as I said, I received that email saying they revoked it. And I'm not traveling to the United Kingdom anytime soon. I didn't book any tickets, to fly there. So the only thing that I could think about was that I said what I said about Keir Starmer. I still stand by it, by the way. Just 3 days before they informed me of that decision. So, I mean, it's really hard not to connect the dots there. And it's also very much in line with his track record. And I suppose it proves my point, that the UK is on a path to become a very unfree country where dissident voices are criticized, people are thrown in jail. And obviously, I'm not a citizen of the United Kingdom, so they can't do that to me. But this is something that they can do, apparently.
The continent is descending into darkness once again, clearly. What do you think, big picture, this tells us about what's happening in Europe and the UK specifically?
I mean, in the UK, this is the definition of a totalitarian state, right? This is the definition of a dictatorship in the sense that you are apparently not allowed to criticize its supreme leader without having your freedoms limited. And this is quite a severe limitation of my freedom in the sense that I was given no due process. I was not given a warning. I have no right to appeal. That's what it stated in the email for the crime, quote unquote, of giving my opinion. And so that is bad. That is not, that's not a normal way for things to happen in so-called free societies. So, no matter what you think my opinions are, if they're right, wrong, radical, not radical, should it be a ground for a government to say to a woman with no criminal record whatsoever, who wants to visit a country for, just a couple of days, once a year, maybe tops, to say, no, you're not allowed, but we are going to allow thousands of illegal immigrants to cross the channel every day. and enter the UK, and nobody's asking them anything. They're not asking their passports, let alone whether they're asking if they're conducive to the public good.
It's easy to see the hypocrisy right away. Great Britain is opening its borders to complete foreign invaders. They can come in illegally and it'll actually be rewarded with welfare provided by the tax-paying citizens that comprise the nation being invaded. But if you're a native-born white European, they will kick your ass out without hesitation as soon as you point out that they're destroying their own nation.
And of course, the UK arrests far more people every year for criticizing the British government than Putin has arrested for criticizing him, or the Saudis have arrested for criticizing MBS. I mean, it's not just repressive, it's far more repressive than countries we are told are authoritarian or totalitarian. I mean, it's worse.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And the same thing is happening on the continent in Europe, by the way. I mean, good that you bring up Russia, because I don't know. I think not many people are aware of this, but something incredible happened here just a month ago where the European Union put out sanctions, like restrictive measures, and placed them on European citizens who they claim, and I quote, were distributing or manipulating false information. So they were saying that these citizens were destabilizing Ukraine on behalf of the Russian government. That's at least their claim, by manipulating information in the European Union. But as far as I know, Ukraine is not a member of the European Union. So why would they feel the need to protect, the stability of that nation? And second of all, those people just received, again, just like me, they just received that decision by the European Union. And what happened to them is far worse than what happened to me, because they froze their assets and they said you are not allowed to travel. And this was a decision made by the European Council. No due process, no court order, no fair trial, nothing. So the European Union is doing that to its own citizens under the pretext of, sanctioning Russia. But these are individuals. These are people whose lives have been destroyed. And it's not getting any media attention whatsoever. But this happened just a month ago. So, there is clearly an increasing totalitarian wind blowing through this continent. And apart from this travel ban, I've also personally fallen victim to it just last year, receiving a notification from Apple saying that my phone is under mercenary spyware attack. So, you see, there is a trend here. Like, we have governments, we don't know exactly which one, or the EU, freezing assets of citizens, looking at me and you probably as we speak through this phone right now. Like, again, that is not what is supposed to happen in democratic societies, especially not when those people doing it are the ones who constantly trumpet that. So it's pretty bad over here. I'm really actually very concerned as to where this is heading.
Look, we built PG, which single-handedly stopped the rise of the far right in Europe.
The noose tightens, and we are expected to smile as we feel the cords bite ever deeper into our neck. It's quite the picadillo we find ourselves in. The more we use digital technology, the more vulnerable we are to the people who are responsible for all the actions Ava just described. And yet, what do? Forsake digital technology and surrender to them instead by actively abandoning the very tools that would yield Darwinian fitness in our environment? I'm not really sure. I don't have an answer to that, but I think building parallel systems would be a good starting point. I hope you enjoyed this clip with Ava and Tucker. Please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons and sharing this video to help this channel grow.